Hey, I'm Ben Silverio.
I'm Aaron Klein.
And I'm Ansel Birch, your host in post.
And this is
Time to Party. Pew, pew, pew.
We are not doctors and we don't give medical advice. Please drink responsibly.
Yeah, what up?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to our podcast where we talk about time travel media. We take a movie, we split it into 3 sections, and this is the first section where we talk about a drinking/smoking game. Ben, What movie are we talking about?
We are talking about the 2009 adaptation of The Time Traveler's Wife.
We sure are. It was very 2009. I'm glad I looked at the year before I started watching it.
Man, it was something, huh?
It was. It sure was. Unfortunately, we do all remember 2009.
Man,
Ben,
I mean,
had you ever seen this movie?
I had not.
Okay.
I heard about it, but I don't know. Usually I'm into romantic, fantasies, and I probably would have thought that I'd seen this, but I had not.
I had seen the movie and read the book before I watched it the first time, so we'll go into a little in the second episode about the differences between the book. There's some pretty important ones, so that should be quite a talk.
I'm very curious to hear about that.
It's somehow, if you can believe it, the book is even darker than the movie is.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's quite dark. I understand why they made the changes that they did, but it like fundamentally changes some things about the movie. It's wild. How did you find this as a drinking game movie?
It was hard to find things that happened repeatedly.
You'd think in a spontaneous time travel movie there would be things that happen a lot more frequently, but you're right, there's like not. It was really surprising to me how little recurring stuff there wound up being throughout the course of the movie.
Yeah, it's I had a hard time coming up with the 3 rules that I settled on. I almost had 4, but like it didn't really happen enough. So I might add that in as like a shot rule, maybe. But yeah, I had very few potential rules and very few finalized rules for our game.
Yeah, I wound up with only 5 rules total. Mine are all kind of the same way, where I was like, I think that this is this thing. I don't know. It's sort of like, what movie was it we were talking about? That it was more difficult because we were enjoying watching it. Like Palm Springs, where
Palm Springs.
It's like I was so invested in watching the movie that I found it difficult to like look for that kind of thing and watch it underneath of it. Even though I'd seen Time Traveler's Wife before, there was something about the story that I was engaged enough that I like wasn't really even conscious of that kind of stuff happening a lot, which I feel like kind of led to part of what made this kind of a difficult movie to create like a smoking or drinking game too.
Yeah. It was definitely hard to watch and then watch critically for our purposes, because having never seen this before, I was trying to like hone in on how I felt about the movie. Then the other layer of our purposes. It was difficult, but I think we got through it.
Yeah, and like I'm glad that we picked a movie that was a little more like, it's not recent, like Palm Springs is recent, but it's not like a classic in the way that like say Terminator is, but it's very 2009, and so I think it's interesting to pick a time travel movie from this kind of like weirdly specific era.
Yes. It's good that we decided to tackle like a wide range of movies. Because they're not all Back to the Future. So.
Right, exactly. Like, there's so many different kinds of time travel, and like I find we'll get more into this in the second one, but I find the concept in this one so fascinating for time travel too. That's part of why I wanted to do this.
So wild.
Movie. It's nuts. It's clever. It's very cool. I like totally understand why it was written as a book first, because it's kind of hard to like conceptualize exactly how it works. But I think they do a great job of explaining. We'll get into it. I'm jumping ahead into episode 2. Let's go over the drinking game first. Hit me with your first rule.
Okay, my first rule is drink every time Henry does something creepy. Yeah.
That's like the whole movie.
That's like the whole movie. So Henry is a very creepy dude. And I mean, I thought about it and I'm like, okay,
though.
he's a time traveler. Maybe he's not. Maybe these things aren't that creepy because he's a time traveler. And I'm like, no, this is even creepy for a time traveler. Like,
he's creepy. She's creepy. Their fucking whole story is creepy.
it's real creepy. I wrote in my notes in big letters, this is real creepy. That was like the third thing I wrote down.
Oh my god. Oh, I can't wait to get to episode 2. Oh, that's hilarious. Very hilariously, one of mine is take a hit every time you feel profoundly sad for Henry. Because I feel like that's true too. There's a lot of times where you're like, boy, this sucks. This sucks for you, man. Like, your life is really, really shitty. And I can, like, that scene with his dad where his dad is like, does she know about you? Who would ever have you? Like, oh, Jesus.
Who would ever have you? I was like, man, thanks, Dad.
Right? Like, damn, man, it's not my fault. My genes are all fucked up. Like, so I agree that Henry's a big creep, but I also, like, just felt bad for him a lot. So I was like, I'm feeling this emotion a lot. We'll just take a hit every time.
And then my next 2 rules, they kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
And they're pretty basic rules because, again, it was really hard to pick rules for this movie. Was drink every time someone says Claire or Henry's names. Like, every time he says Claire's name, he says it twice. Like, God. Claire Abernath, or whatever her last name is.
Oh, I didn't notice that. What a weird quirk.
It happens multiple times, and I'm just like, oh, okay.
That's a good one. I did not notice that. Those are 2. Take 1 for each of their names?
Right, yes.
Okay. Oh my god, that's a good one. Okay. Take a hit every time Henry is naked. That happens a lot.
That was going to be my last one. Take a shot every time you see Henry's butt.
Oh, that's a good specific one, because Henry is naked a lot, but you only see his butt a couple of times.
Exactly.
Including the time that he's, like, bleeding on the floor in that one scene.
Yeah.
Exactly halfway through the movie. I know, because I had to pause it and was like, oh, this is hard turn right in the middle here.
Yeah.
Oh, an aggressive change of tone. Okay.
For real, it was like, oh, this is kind of like a sad movie, but like we're moving in a good. Oh fuck! Yeah. Oh, uh-oh.
Oh, not a slow tragedy then. All right.
No.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, this is just a train wreck from here going forward. Cool, got it.
Yeah. Big letters about halfway through my notes. What? Question mark! Exclamation point. That was definitely Henry on the floor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Oh man. Yeah, that scene's. I think they do a very good job with, even though it's very different in the book. I think it's a great way to adapt that scene. Again, we'll get into the reasons that it's different in episode 2. Okay, kind of related to maybe seeing Henry's butt a lot of times, shockingly. Take a hit every time someone is just way too confused. There's a lot of confusion in this movie. There's a lot of times people are like, what? What? Like, when they talk about how they're having a baby and he's like, what? Like, bro, you fucked her in the past. You knew that happened. When did you think that happened? Like, there's just so many times, like Gomez, when he sees him in the, like, outfit and... Henry's response of fucking homophobes, man. Like, oh, okay, that's what you would just say to your friend who discovered you in an alley in this outfit beating the shit out of a dude. Like, oh, okay, cool. So I guess in that case, Gomez's confusion is a little more justified. But there are several times where Gomez in particular, you're just like, why are you so confused? You know who he is.
Yeah.
You know this dude spontaneously travels through time. Like, you have to have gotten used to it at this point.
How did you get into this wacky scenario?
Right? Hypothermia in July. How does that happen? Like, because he travels through time. That's why. Okay, so that was your last one. I have 2 more. Mine are also very subjective. Take a drink every time you go, hey, it's that guy. Because that happens at least 3 times. There were several actors where I was just like, oh my god, I forgot he was in this movie. So I feel like that's a good drinking rule. Do that one. And then take a hit every time you think, ma'am, perhaps you should not have married this man. Because that also happened a lot.
I feel like I would be drinking the whole time. That's just...
There were so many times where she's like, I felt really bad for her because she is right. It's not like she really got to choose this life. But at the same time, like, you could actually have said no. You really could have.
Yeah.
You could have, like, taken control of your life at any moment and been like, this fucking sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. And yet here she was. They both suck.
Yeah. In episode 2, I want to go into it a little bit more, but there's something that her dad says to Henry where I'm just like, no, this shouldn't be a thing. This relationship is doomed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. There are multiple times where it's like, so unless you... Oh, we'll get into it.
Yes.
I feel like I could just go on forever about... I like this movie, and I'm still like, what the fuck? Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. So those are our drinking and smoking rules. Like we said, this is a really weird movie to do drinking and smoking along with, but also at the same time, this movie's sad as fuck. So if you're like...
so it might help.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to be like wretched sad for like an hour and a half, then I feel like probably drinking and smoking along and like looking for those patterns will make it a little bit of a softer blow. Again, it is a good movie. It's just... It's bizarre. It's a very weird movie.
It's very bizarre. Bizarre is a great word for it.
Oh, man. It's going to be the most hated episode.
Something we've talked about before. What kind of booze do you think this movie is for?
Man, that's...
Ooh.
I feel like this isn't necessarily like a beer one because there's not... Unless you're doing like the Henry and Claire, like individual ones. That's a beer rule. But I feel like this is a movie that you watch with like a stiff bourbon because it's rough.
I was going to say bourbon. Yeah.
Yeah,
but
it's...
Alternatively, since the movie is so sad, I would pick a happy fun drink like margarita. Like
Oh. You get to the end, you're like, well, at least I had 3 margaritas.
Exactly.
That's a good answer. It's fine. I was thinking like a gin and tonic, which is a lighter drink than a bourbon. So kind of that same idea of like, oh, I don't want to be heavy in my stomach and my soul. Then maybe go with something like a margarita or a gin and tonic. If you'd like to drink heavily and be sad, which like, props, totally understand.
I get it.
No shade at all. Absolutely understand that feeling. Then yeah, maybe watch this while you drink something heavy like a bourbon because it is fitting to this movie and how fucking sad it is.
Yeah. Real sad. Real heavy.
Real sad. Real fucking sad. I warned you guys it was sad.
Oh, it was certainly sad.
Oh, all right.
Well,
I feel like tragic is the better word for this one.
Tragic, yes, I agree. It is absolutely a tragic story. There's like no part of it that's not tragic. We'll get into it.
Yes.
All right. I believe that wraps up our first segment, which will bleed into episode 2. Come back to hear us finish all these thoughts about this weird fucking movie.
Yeah. In the meantime, if you have any thoughts about the Time Traveler's Wife, if you have some rules you want to suggest, all that good stuff, you can join the conversation by finding us on the internet. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm at bsilverio20.
On Instagram, I'm at NYDurgency.
I'm at The Indecisionist on Instagram and Indecisionist on Twitter. Special thanks to April Moralba for our podcast art and to Marlon Longid of Marlon and the Shakes for our fabulous theme music. This has been an Indecisionist production.
You can also use the hashtag Time2Party. That's time, the number 2 party. You can also suggest rules there, as Ben said. If you can think of any for this movie, I'm very curious.
Yes. Please, we need more people to talk about this movie. Just
this 2009 gem. Here we are in 2021. Like what? All right, everybody, join us in episode 2, where we will be again going into more of this. There's a lot we have to say about this movie, it seems. So join us in episode 2.
Yeah, buckle up, kids. Until then, be excellent to each other.
Party on, dudes. Don't get caught in a spontaneous time loop. Air guitar!